Word. The 14th of November, Rabbi Furst, Pierke Avos. Hanukah.
Morning, Lou.
Good morning, Eliezer.
My allergies are acting up today and I've been sneezing a lot. So I'm going to put myself on mute till I see if the medicine kicked in or not.
Okay, Refuah Shalema.
That's okay.
I have allergies also, so I definitely know what it's like. Okay, let's see what we're doing here. Put this in.
Good morning, Eliezer. It's me. Good morning, Lou.
Good morning, Rabbi. How are you?
Fine, Baruch Hashem. Okay. We're recording. Good morning, everyone. This is Rabbi Shlomo Furst here, Yeshiva Tzama. We're learning our first year, and we are learning about Hanukah. Why? The central question, why is not Hanukah, at least in Chutz La'aretz, kept for 9 days instead of 8? Everyone knows Hanukkah is 8 days. Right, Barry? 8 days Hanukkah.
Good morning.
8 days.
Is it 8? They moved it up to 8? Well, okay.
Yep, 8 days.
I have to get a new menorah.
Starting, no, that's going to be part of the question. That's going to be quite. Hanukkah starts on 25th of Kislev, Chav Hey, and that's pretty late in the month. So in general, shluchim who were sent out from Yerushalayim after the month was Miskadesh, sanctified by the Beis Din. So most places should have gotten word about when and where and how the month was started, and so they would know definitively that this is the 25th. But let's say a person lived in a place where they didn't usually get word, and so then in general you would think that it should be no different than second day Goliath. There were those places that had to keep, and they still, as a matter of fact, as a tradition, we keep our second day Goliath. And the question also is going to shift into Purim as well.
Your mother's planning to come in January.
You know, Purim.
Malka
and as we'll see.
and
Let me put this
Natan are coming. Are going in a week.
The Turi Evan. I think we'll start with the Turi Evan today.
Can I just get a clarification at one point? When these messengers, these shluchim, are traveling to Calcutta, what are they announcing? Are they announcing when Rosh Chodesh was? So then Calcutta will know what day of the month it is, or are they coming to announce Hanukkah?
Well, they're coming. The basic information they're coming is whether the month was Mole or Chasser, whether it was a 29-day month or a 30-day month. That's all that. Once everyone knows that, then they'll do the mathematics themselves. They'll be able to determine exactly what day of the calendar it was. Okay, so that's exactly the point. The point being, as we'll see now, the Shagis Aryeh. You'll see here that the Turi Evan. You'll see it on your screen with a little red dot. I've been told people like the red dots. There's a red dot right over there. It moves around a bit, but if you see the Turi Evan, on the Sectus Rosh Hashanah. This is the Reb Aryeh Leib ben Reb Asher, who was born in 1695 in Lithuania. So he probably was older lahavdil than George Washington. He was probably born before George Washington.
Wow.
Right?
Yes, he was.
So
Who's
So
George
he-
Washington?
you have to go back to America to find that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think is he on some of the American currency on a dollar?
Yeah, he only made the dollar, but he's very common, but not worth too much.
Yeah, but my grandchildren want to Benjamin. They like it. They say he's
Yeah,
a better
but,
shave it.
Yeah. Okay, who would like to read here? We'll see what the Torah Eben. The Torah Eben is known as, he's also the Shagas Aryeh, and it is very, very,
Okay.
very highly respected throughout the generations. That's a good 300 plus years already, and see what he has to say in terms of his understanding of things here. Who would like to read? Any volunteers?
I do.
Just one point of information, George Washington was born in 1732.
So he was a youngster. Okay,
Yeah, young whippersnapper.
okay, thank you, Mayor, for that information.
1732.
Okay,
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Zeha Dinafki Ach
Kislev, on the month of Kislev.
Akisle. Oh,
Let
Akisle.
me give you some background. There's a Mishnah in the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah that says that the shluchim would go out, but during the months they would be sent from Yerushalayim, as we spoke about previously, to inform the people living in Gullus when the month was miskadesh by the Beis Din. So why would they go out? So the Mishnah says they would go out on Kislev and Adar. They would go on these 2 months also, even though that Kislev has the festival of Hanukah and Adar has the festival of Purim, and they would inform people when the month was, so people could keep the proper days of Purim and Hanukah.
V'adar mipnei Chanukah uPurim afal gav the leka the michash le taklas isur
Tikulas Isur.
tikulas isur. What's tikulas?
Tikula is like either a mistake or a calamity of Isur, some type of a mistake which is going to be in Isur. For example, let me, as explained in the Gemara, the Mishnah says that the shluchim would go out on Nisan, the month of Nisan, because of Pesach. Why? Because we didn't want people to be makshil. If they don't know the day when Pesach starts, they could be eating chametz, and it might be Pesach already, right? So they have to get the word out to people when Pesach is actually going to start, so people will know when not to eat chametz, right? And when to eat matzah. On Yom Kippur, right? They need to know when to fast, right? On Sukkot, they have to know when they're going to be sitting in the Sukkah. So Tikulas Isser, there's no by Purim and Hanukkah, there's no Tikulas Isser, there's no calamity of Isser that's going to take place, which would really force you to have. If they don't know the proper day to keep Hanukkah or Purim, so they're not going to be over any Isser. They'll maybe not keep Hanukkah properly. They may not keep Purim properly, but they're not going to be over some type of an issue like eating chametz or eating on Yom Kippur.
Isn't it a bracha levatala if you light the candles on the wrong day for Hanukkah when it's not Hanukkah?
Yeah, that's all very true. And but the primary concern, which you definitely don't want to make a mistake in a bracha, but the primary concern would be some issur deraisa. That would be a primary concern of issur deraisa. So they wouldn't. The bracha of the Torah, according to many poskim, is a real strong side of issur deraisa as well. Not to take Hashem's name in vain. So you want to avoid it as well. But it's not viewed as seriously as it is to be eating on Yom Kippur, or to, let's say, eating on Pesach, eating chametz on Pesach. Okay.
Also, Rabbi, you mentioned Yom Kippur, but we don't have the custom to have 2 days of Yom Kippur, even though we have 2 days of Sukkot.
Right.
Don't look for trouble.
2 days of
Luke.
Yom Kippur, since
Right.
the messengers will
Don't
not
look
have
for
arrived.
trouble.
Right.
They're not going to arrive for Sukkot. They won't have arrived for Yom Kippur.
The Gemara discusses that and says it's impossible. We can't expect, you can't demand that people fast 2 days. Right? It's much too difficult. There were, you should know, that you can read about it. There were those when the Emir Yeshiva was exiled, they escaped from Europe and they were exiled to Shanghai. And the Emir Yeshiva was there. I forgot exactly how long they were staying there in Shanghai. But there were those that did fast, in fact, 2 straight days of Yom Kippur, because there was a big question in terms of the date line, when which date was going to be the proper coordinated date in English to the day of Yom Kippur. So there was a big suffix as to what date was really Yom Kippur. And so there were those several few people that, in fact, they did fast 2 straight days. But in general, you can't ask people to do that. So you just have to hope and pray that the day is the right day. But so yeah.
So, Rebbe, what did they do when they left? Mendel Kaplan, who was one of those who was in Shanghai, became a Rebbe in the Philly Yeshiva. And I became very close to him. And I'm wondering what did they do when they finally came back, like the United States, or wherever they went? Some, I guess, went there to Israel, but I know Mendel came to, I think, Chicago first. But
Right.
but here they are now. They had to cross the date line again.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, what did they finally resolve so that they could not, for the rest of their lives, start doing double this and double that?
Well, no, I mean, once they found out when they were when they returned to civilization, let's put it that way.
When they got,
So
once they got to an established community, they,
Go ahead, Eliezer. Go ahead.
once they got to an established community, that was what the minhag was. You just followed the community.
Hello.
Yeah.
I can't.
Hello?
We lost the audio, Elliot.
All right.
Could you start from
Okay.
the middle? Start from the middle again.
Once they got to an established community, you follow the minhag of the community, whatever the calendar was. It's not a problem.
Right.
The issues are when there's not an established community.
Right. There was no one out there in Shanghai. They were the community, and
Well, Shanghai was not the problem. Kobe was the problem, because
Yeah.
Kobe, there's a question where the date line was. Everybody held that mainland China was
Yeah,
not
right.
problem with the date line.
We're losing your audio. Did you pay your cable bill? We're losing your.
One second. Let him collect.
We
Okay.
we're losing what you're saying, Elliot.
Barry, be quiet. We can't hear Eliezer.
Problem was Kobe when they were in
The
Japan.
thing that's scaring
went
me is
between
I'm
Japan and
starting
China.
to
So the suffix was always
Please.
Japan.
He's not talking.
Yes, he is.
He was talking, and then when you started talking, we couldn't hear him anymore.
Now he's gone.
Okay.
No, he's coming
not
back.
talking now. He's trying to talk. Yeah, I'm I can't hear him at all.
Eliezer,
Well-
do you hear us? Do you hear us well enough now, Eliezer?
Is
We
this a
hear
better
you.
connection?
Yes.
So
Okay.
far, so well. Go
prob-
ahead.
The problem was Kobe because of the location of the date line. Kobe's in Japan. Okay, everybody holds that the mainland is not a problem with the date line. It's just early, so there's no problem with the dates. But when the year they spent in Kobe, they did not know which day was Yom Kippur because the date line could have been between Japan and China, and it could have been on the other side of Japan. So that's when they had to observe 2 days of
Yom Kippur.
2 days of Yom Kippur.
Oh, okay. Because they didn't know where the date line was. Here we go.
Can I ask a
That's when the
question?
Shiloh came. Once they got back to China, to Shanghai, there was not a problem.
My question is, if you're in the Midbar and you don't know when Shabbos, you count 7 days and you
Right.
establish, you're not in an established community. Why couldn't they do the same thing for Yom Kippur? This is the month of Rosh Chodesh, and this is Yom Kippur. So why can't they use the same basis? Like,
They have the
price-
same problem in Hawaii, exactly where the date line is. I remember being in Hawaii, needed to be on the plane.
Okay, hello? Are we here?
Does anybody hear him? He goes in and out.
Okay, look, in any case, you can read the Torah history books. They'll tell you all about their experiences, and there were the questions that they sent. They were to try and solve the difficulty. So, but the point is that we can't obligate the all of Klal Yisrael, or even those even in Golas, to keep 2 days Yom Kippur. It's just not practical. So, well, we can touch on that some more. But let's see what the Shagas Aryeh, the Torah has to teach us. Go ahead again. Start again from the beginning.
Okay. Vaha dinafke Kislev v'adar. What is dinafke?
They go out, meaning the messengers would leave Yerushalayim to go out to tell those who lived outside of Eretz Israel, primarily when the month was sanctified.
Okay, so this that they go out in Kislev and Adar because of Hanukah and Purim, even though that there is not a fear of a mistake that will lead to a prohibition. Bekum la'aseh, what's that?
To actually go out and do something which is forbidden, meaning if it's Yom Kippur, a person would actively go out and eat something. If it was Pesach, it would actively go out and eat chametz. So that's a much more serious offense than if a person would be doing a isser, which is not bekum v'aseh. So in terms of Hanukkah and Purim, you don't see any type of concern about that, because there is no what's if you don't observe Hanukkah on the right day. So like you mentioned, it could be a question of bracha v'tala, but aside from that, there's no. You may be losing out on Hallel. You may not write the menorah in Purim. You may not read Megillah. So, but these are not the same strength of a prohibition, which is bekum v'aseh, which is allowed should bekum v'aseh. So it's not so serious. But nevertheless, they did go out in spite of that.
Daha lo isurei ma'asayis Malacha, there is no isser, there's no prohibition. What is ma'asais? Sais?
Ba'asiyas malacha, meaning on Pesach. You also have on Shavuos also. You have the lamed tes malachas, which are forbidden or in terms of what they are on Yom Tov. So you have the prohibition of doing malacha on Yom Tov. So therefore, it's necessary to stop the people from being negligent, even maybe perhaps unknowingly, but nevertheless negligent in the doing of malacha on a day where it's forbidden to do malacha. But that doesn't exist by Hanukkah or Purim.
So what is the word ba'asais?
To do ma'asiyas malacha, to do work.
To do. Oh, I see. To do work. So even though there is not a prohibition to do work, yesh lomar, there is to say de parsume nisa, that publicizing the miracle chashiv tefei kidamar likaman. It's the publicizing the miracle is important. What's tefei?
It's more important.
More important, as it is stated later on.
Oh, so the answer to the question is, it's true that Hanukah and Purim don't contain the severity of doing something actively which will violate the laws of Yom Tov, specifically in doing malacha, also on Pesach eating chametz, or on Yom Kippur eating food. Nevertheless, since there's an element of pursuing Nisa, that we want to publicize the miracles that Hashem did for us at the time of Purim and the time of Hanukkah, that makes it a very significant reason why we should make sure that those days are observed in their proper time. We want to make sure that that celebration of the miracles that Hashem did for us took place corresponding to the actual days that he did those miracles on.
So that increases the question of why we don't have 2 days for Hanukkah, 2 days for Purim.
Right. Well, that's where he's leading up to that, exactly.
Va'afilu Hanukah uPurim de das. I don't know what this word is.
The divrei sosim. The afilu the Hanukkah Purim the divrei sosim. Even though that Hanukkah and Purim are midrabanan, right? Even though they're midrabanan, divrei sofrim.
Divrei sofrim means that they are rabbinic.
Rabbinic, exactly. Very good. True. That's
Even though Hanukkah and Purim are rabbinic, Nami Yechamiro la'asos tet. Also, it is it would be a strictness to do 9 Yemei days Chanukah of Chanukah, bet Yemei Purim, or 2 days of Purim, misafik, from a doubt. So this word yachmiro, it means in a good sense, it would be appropriate to be more strict.
Yes. It's very appropriate in a good sense to be strict to do 2 days Hanukkah, 2 days Purim, and 9 days of Hanukkah.
9 days of Hanukkah. Misate, because of a doubt. Shema, Ivaro, O Chisru. Perhaps, what's Ivaro?
Maybe it will pass, meaning it could be that the day that you thought was Purim or Hanukkah would not be the day, and it would have passed without you observing it. Or on the other hand, Yechsor, you might be lacking one of the days.
Below Shayich Khan Lomar Sveka de Rabbanan, and it's not fitting here to say that a doubt of a rabbinic rule, the hakel, you should be lenient.
Again, that's the general approach, right? You'll ask any rabbi, and he'll usually tell you subject derbanan lakula, right?
Right.
that,
Right.
you
He's
can
saying
be
it's not appropriate in this case.
Yes, that's what he says, exactly.
The
This case
normal
is not appropriate
approach
to
is
say.
not appropriate in this case.
Right.
The amai nakil beha. I don't know what this abbreviation is.
Why should we makel behahu yoima in that day, in that day, that's bahahu yoima in that day.
Oh, in that day. So why should we be lenient in that day? More, yoter more may idcha yome, more than, what is this me'idcha?
Then in another day, right? Why should we make in this day and in another day? We'll see from how we explore. We'll read another line or so, and we'll explain it if we see the whole thought.
Ve'i azlas bit ravihu lehakel ha ikras mitzvos Purim. V'yom echad shel Hanukah bevadai. If azlas is to go,
if we'll approach both of them in terms of being makil, right? If we'll approach both in terms of being lenient, meaning not to do it, right?
Right. Then this what is ikras?
It'll be uprooted.
This will uproot the mitzvah of Purim and the first day of Hanukkah. Certainly. What? Why would it uproot it? If you're lenient, lenient means that we have 8 days in one day.
Right.
Which is what we do.
Right. So what are you going to do? Meaning, again, you're assuming, right? You're assuming that you want to apply suffix to brun l'kula, right?
Right.
So let's say you're living out there in Calcutta, right?
Right.
1,000 years ago, you were living out there in Calcutta, and it takes. You never get word from Yerushalayim. So what are you supposed to do on Purim?
2 days.
So according to your subject to Rabban in the Kula. So he's explaining to you why that rule doesn't apply here. You can't apply that rule of subject to Rabban in the Kula when it comes to Hanukkah and Purim. Because if you'd apply that rule, you wouldn't observe Purim at all. And you would at least not observe the first day of Hanukkah.
All 8 days. Yeah, you would miss a day.
Right? Because what do you want to say? You're out there in Calcutta, and according to your calendar, it looks like it's the 14th of Adar. Looks like it's the 14th of Adar, right?
But you're not sure.
You're not sure. So what do you say? Subject to brother Lakula, right?
Seriously, why not use two menorahs? Really, start what you think is the first day and go through 8, and then if you're not sure, do one more day. So then you have everything covered.
Exactly.
If you use 2 menorahs, if you
100%
use 2 menorahs, you can.
You're right. Correct. You are right.
Okay,
That's what you should do. But however, we didn't get that. We didn't get that. You jumped. We didn't get to that stage. We're at the stage. Why don't you say subject to Rabban Lakula? Right? Subject to Rabban Lakula. What if you had a suffix whether you heard the Megillah on Purim?
Yeah.
Suffix to Rabbanan Lakula, do you have to hear the Megillah again? Theoretically speaking, we're not talking about the halacha lamaisa, but suffix to, if you would apply suffix to Rabbanan, you have a doubt whether you heard the Megillah properly. Suffix to Rabbanan Lakula, so we can say, okay, it's a suffix, it's a day to Rabbanan. You don't have to now try and hear the Megillah again, right? But if you apply that to Purim itself, if you're living in Calcutta and on your calendar, according to your calendar, Yud Dalet Purim is today. So you say, well, I don't really know if it's really Yud Dalet. I don't know. Maybe it's only Yud Gimel. So you'll tell yourself, okay, that's subject to Rabbanan Lakula. I won't do it today. And what are you going to do tomorrow? Well, tomorrow also is a suffix to Rabbanan Lakula. So therefore, if you would apply the rule of suffix to Rabbanan Lakula to Purim and to Hanukah, you would uproot Purim entirely. You would say there's no Purim at all. And you would lose at least that first day of Hanukah. Is that clear? He's simply explaining why we don't apply the rule of suffix to Rabbanan Lakula in these cases of Hanukah and Purim.
That's clear to me.
Okay, let's finish that sentence then, if everyone else is with us. The Kevon, after that dot there, after the period.
The Kevon, the low Efshar, I don't know what this abbreviation.
Bal Korchach, perforce.
Perforce. Okay, so since it is not possible, perforce, nizil vitarvaihu laha chamir. What is nizil?
We go in both of them. Travaya, we go in both of them, both by Hanukah and by Purim. We go both of them. Lahachmir.
Oh, since it's not possible to uproot the two holidays, then perforce we have to go with both of them in the strict way.
Right. And since that we can't apply this general rule of Savik Derbanan Lachakir, we must therefore for both Hanukah and Purim go L'chumra, to be strict.
But because it's one day, you might miss it entirely. That's the problem. Is that what?
No,
why we go L'chumra?
Since what is, if you analyze your doubt, meaning your doubt is out there in Calcutta, your doubt is today really your Dalid Adar? You don't know. So you want to read the Megillah because of a suffix. Maybe today is your Dalid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you know what? Some bright fellow is going to tell you, a bright Talmid Chacham is going to tell you, Safek Derbanan Lakula. You don't have to read the Megillah, it's Bittul Torah. Sit down and learn. Safek Derbanan Lakula. So, okay, so what you thought might have been your Dalid, we'll say, okay, we won't do it today. Because why? Because Safek Derbanan Lakula. We'll wait till tomorrow. So tomorrow you're saying to yourself, well, your Dalid wasn't yesterday, maybe wasn't yesterday, maybe it's today. So say, let's read the Megillah today. So your friend says to you, Safek Derbanan Lakula. You don't have to read it today either. Bittul Torah. So you can ask him, well, what about Purim? He says, don't worry about Purim. Safek Derbanan Lakula. You don't know when it is, you don't have to do it.
To answer Barry's question, though,
you wouldn't have that problem if it was 2
not
days, right?
because it's one day, because Hanukkah is not one day. The point with Hanukkah is that you would miss the first day.
That's right.
It's
Exactly.
not,
That's
it's
what he
not
said.
an issue of one day. It's an issue of missing something.
Right. That
Uprooting
was by Purim, but by Hanukkah he said that's what he said. V'yom echad shel Hanukkah mavadai. One day of Hanukkah you're vadai going to lose. You could either lose the first day or maybe you lose the last day. One of the two of the first or the second or the last days. We're going to see a more detailed explanation of this. But so far we understand why. We just at this point we're at the stage why you can't apply the rule of Suffolk D'Rabbanan L'Kula. So far so good.
Okay. Yeah, because logically, if you apply it, you wind up not observing at all.
Exactly. That's right. That's right. Okay, let's go to the next paragraph. This is a continuation of the Shagis Ari, the Tori Evan, and the top paragraph on the page number 2. Or if you see on the screen, it's right there as well.
The Kihai Gavna, Amar, Beperech,
Perek Yud, the 10th parak in Psachim. Perek Yud, the 10th parak in Psachim.
Perek Yud, and the Sfachim, the Amrei La Trey Kisei Kamai Boe Hasiva. Okay, so Kihai Gavna means Kihai Gavna. I forget what that means.
A similar case we see being spoken about in the Gemara in Psachim, the 10th parak. This is talking about the 4 cups, right? You know, the 4 cups of wine that we drink on Pesach, right? So those are D'Rabbanan. The drinking of the 4 koshes of wine on Pesach night, Seder night, is D'Rabbanan, right? So he's going to bring a similar case to show how this applies.
Okay, so they said concerning this, 2 cups, what's kamai?
Kamai first, the first 2 tray, kase, 2 cups, kamai, the first 2 cups. The first 2 cups, the Gemara says the first 2 cups of the 4 cups.
First 2 cups of the 4 cups need hasiva. What's hasiva?
Hasiva, to reclining.
Need reclining. V'amrei la as ifcha u masik ayadei ve'ayadei. They said about this. What is
means opposite? They said opposite. They said the opposite, meaning the Gemara started speaking about the 4 cups. The first 2 cups need haseba, and they said now the opposite. Umasik, and they concluded umasik. They concluded idi boy haseba. So the Gemara had made a statement that the first of the 4 2 cups have to do and be drunk with haseba, reclining. And then the Gemara asked the question, it should really be the opposite, meaning really the last 2 courses, the last 2 cups should require reclining. And Masik, and it concluded, the Gemara concluded, Idi boy haseba, both the first 2 cups and the second 2 cups need haseba.
Okay. All 4 cups need it. Okay.
And that's exactly that's the halakha as we are accustomed to fulfill the mitzvah of haseba. We do it with all 4 cups.
Uperush Haramban Af al Gav.
That's Haran.
Haran. The explanation of the Ran, even though the
Havale.
The Havale.
Even though
that there is.
Yes, that's right. Even though that there is.
even though that there is sfeka, a doubt, the Rabbanan on a rabbinic, ole kule de and according to everyone, that if nizil you go likula leniently, amai nakil behane tafe. Why? What is nakil?
To be mako, from the word kill, to be mako, to be lenient.
Why are you strict with these even more so?
You know, why are we lenient? Meaning, again, the Gemara, the Ran says as follows. The Ran said, "Perish Gav Tahavile Suffolk Derabbanan V'Lakula." Even though if it would be a suffix in, you had a certain doubt in the various 4 cups, and you would say, well, it's, if you would say suffix Derabbanan Lakula, Inazios Lakula. If you would go according to Kula, Amai Nakal Bahani Tvei Mahani. Why would you be more makel with these 2 rather than those? So again, the Gemara divided up the 4 cups, the 2 first ones and the last 2 cups. So if there was a suffix in one set, right, then you wouldn't be able to choose between the 2, which of the 2 you have to be more mako. You can't choose which one to be more mako with. He'll explain a little bit more.
Okay, I'm going to read on, but I'm lost at this point.
Hold on, we'll get back to it. We'll go with a minute.
Okay. Ve'i nizio betarvaihu, and if you go with 2 of them, likula, leniently, ha me ikar mitzvah hasiv.
I say,
What is this
mitzvah
abbreviation?
haseva, right? Mitzvah haseva,
Haseva, the reclining.
right? Mikisei legamre.
Okay, so let me go back. If you go with both of them leniently, the essence of the mitzvah of reclining for the cup, legamre, is complete.
It would be again, it would be uprooting the mitzvah of the haseba with the cups completely. So okay, let me explain. We're talking about a case where the let's say you're now at the end of the Seder. You're now at the end of the Seder, and you know that you reclined for some of the cups, but you didn't recline for some of the cups. Some you did, some you didn't, right?
Right.
So the question is, well, you want to say, well, since I don't know if I did the reclining, because the Gemara, right? Meaning, I'll put it in a better way. Again, the Gemara said like this. The Gemara said the 2 first cups need haseba, and then the Gemara said oppositely, right? And it said there in the conclusion, both need haseba. Both need haseba, right?
Right.
So did the Gemara come to a clear conclusion that they both need haseba? It was only,
yes.
Well, only because of a suffix, right? There was a machlokas. Some said you need the first 2. Some said you need the second 2.
Right.
So the Gemara concluded, well, if that's the case, we don't know. We don't know. Let's just do a saber for all of them. All right?
I'm sorry, say that last sentence again.
The Gemara explained that the first 2 cups need a saber. And then the Gemara said, no,
Yes,
the last 2 cups need a saber. So
yes,
at that point, do we know which cups need a saber?
no.
No. So the Gemara concluded, since we don't know, let's do a saber for all of them.
So all of them are now a suffix.
Right. All of them are now a suffix, and we're going to do a saber
Ah.
mistafik. So the question is, why don't you just say suffix to Rabban the Kula and don't do a saber for any of them?
Because you know for sure that some of them do need it.
Right. But since you don't know which one,
But it would be it's the same reasoning as to why you don't do it for Purim, because you would wind up not observing Purim.
oh, that's
So-
right, exactly.
so you would
He's bringing you proof. He's bringing
It's
you
the same
proof that that's how
reasoning.
you apply this.
Right, right.
Right. Simply bringing you proof why you don't say,
That applies to Purim also.
right, that's right. Since the Gemara concluded, because it was in doubt as to whether the first 2 cups need a saber or the last 2 cups need a saber, so I said, let's do, because we're doubtful, all 4, right? So you see that the Gemara there is not applying the rule of suffix to Rabban and the Kula.
Right.
Right.
So that's simply a proof to that point. That's what he said. That the last 3 words of the second line. Ve'i nazil v'tervayu l'kula ha'mi'akar mitzvah sevu ma'kaisu legamrei. That if we would go and apply the rule of suffix to Rabbanon's l'kula and be makel, then we would uproot mi'akar mitzvah seva from the kaises completely. V'hakanami tikavase. Here likewise is the same.
Here also, Kavaisa is the 2 of them.
It's the same. It's the same. It's the same by Hanukah and Purim.
I see. Okay, so he's just supporting the point that he already made.
Right. And he's gonna explain that a little bit more in depth as that right now as well.
Okay, that's clear.
Okay, good. Okay, we
I
can
think
continue.
our time is up.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, we're in the middle of this, so we'll take a break now, and we'll start with the halachos in Hanukah, and then we'll continue this tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem.
Amen.
Tomorrow. Okay.
Okay. Very good. Just remind us everywhere, someone remind us where we left off tomorrow. Okay, we're in the middle of that paragraph, the first paragraph in the middle.
Okay. I had trouble with my Zoom this morning. Unfortunately, I got it working, but everybody should keep looking to see if I send an email telling you there's a problem in the morning
Okay,
before the
appreciate
shear.
it. Appreciate it. Thank you. Luke. Thank you very much. Okay. See everyone in a short while.
Okay.